Hey, Dr. Ray here, founder of the Learning Liaisons, and welcome. Welcome to our Wednesday evening math sessions featuring our math specialist and your math specialist, Amy Sink. In the next hour, Amy has put together a sample set of approximately 10 practice questions that run the gamut from kindergarten levels all the way through 12th grade high school math. Now, I know you are attending here, watching this, and you're like, well, I'm doing elementary in Texas, or I'm doing elementary in Praxis, or I'm doing high school math in Florida, or middle school math in Texas. And what's going on here, right? So we're doing these sessions to help you guys out and provide you with different ways to look at problems and to build that confidence. Because here at the Learning Liaisons, one of our major objectives is to clear up the testing confusion, give you the support you deserve in order to nail your exam and be done with it. So our focus is on math. Now, are we going to be just focusing on high school math the whole hour or elementary? No, we've got a mixture here. Now, Amy is going to go through a bunch of problems. You're going to have the opportunity to download those as a PDF. So when Amy starts, just pay attention to the screen. We're going to have a message there for you so you can download the PDF in case we don't get to all the problems or want to practice on your own. She's going to do her best to go across all different grade levels. If you have a question, you feel free to ask Amy your question as well. We're teachers here too, so we can multitask. Our job is to make sure that we give you what you need to be successful. But if you're like, dang it, I didn't have any questions this week, don't worry, we'll be here next Wednesday night as well. So bring those questions with you if you want, and you can ask Amy away. Because here at the Learning Liaisons, we pride ourselves in providing you guys the support you need to pass your exam. So whether you're our Florida teachers here with our FTCE exams, our national exam Praxis peeps, big shout out to you guys out there too, and especially our newcomers to the Learning Liaisons brand, TExES Prep. So whether you're elementary, middle school, and high school, we've got your back. So sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, get ready to learn some math, and stay tuned for the end because I'm going to jump back on to close this out. And I got a special surprise for you guys who really want to get the real deal prep and get everything you need to be successful and practice, clear up that confusion, and pass your certification exam on the next attempt. So, welcome to the Learning Liaisons community. Always remember, it's when you pass, not if you pass. So without further ado, let's turn it over to the reason why you're here, Amy. You with us, Amy? Let's get going.
Hello, friends. How are you? I hope that you're doing well. I am here with Wednesday Night Math Night. It's always good to be here with you guys. I love being here, just solving some math problems together to help you prepare for your exam. Hey, Faith. I am feeling a little bit better. We definitely are passing something around our family, so I am mustering up what I can to be here with everybody, but I am feeling a little bit better. Thank you. But it's good to see you. You have your exam tomorrow. All right. Anyways, so it is good to be here with you guys. Before we get started, I always like to go over a few things. One, introduce yourself in the comments. It's always helpful for me to get to know who's in the room, to get to know what test you're taking. But then it also is helpful because it helps me kind of guide our rabbit trail conversations tonight. So let me know in the comments where you're from, what test are you prepping for, and did you come up with a New Year's resolution this year? So I didn't really do a New Year's resolution, but our family is just kind of focusing on health this year. Just overall, I feel like there's so much sickness going around, so we're just trying to be more intentional about that. But not really a resolution because I don't really like the idea of failing at that. It's just not my vibe. Hey, Joseph, it's good to see you. So where are you from? What test are you prepping for? And do you have a New Year's resolution or not? Also, as I'm solving problems, please don't hesitate to stop me where I'm at. Please don't hesitate to ask questions in the comment box. That's why we're here, is to help you pass your exam. So if you have questions, ask me. I'm more than happy to answer them. And finally, if you have anything that you want me to go over in the coming weeks, please let me know. I'm more than happy to try to include that in coming weeks moving forward. So if you have any questions or topics that you want me to go over, just drop it in the comment box. That is a great goal, to pass that praxis test. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our first question. Now, for those of you who have been here before, this question might look similar because we started it a couple of weeks ago and then did not finish it. So we are going to finish this garden problem. But first, let's go ahead and say Happy New Year to everybody. It's a new year. Remember, it's not if you pass, it's when you pass. So I just have a good feeling about this year. You guys are going to pass your exams. So that's awesome. You're focused on good health and not stressing over your exams. I will say, let's just have a little, I'm just going to step on my soapbox. Stress can impact your score. It does not matter how much knowledge you have. You very well, many people have the knowledge base to pass their exams. However, you may be stressing yourself out of the exam, quite possibly, because the stress can impact our ability to pull out the knowledge that we have. So that's a great goal. I love it. Did we cover convergent and divergent series? I'm going to be quite frank with you. We did not, because I have to do my own homework and study convergent and divergent series to be able to truly provide you with a problem or set of problems at the depth and rigor that the assessment is going to ask them at. So I'm going to study up on that. I know Priya is also really good with upper level math, and she's going to be covering me for a couple of weeks in January due to some work obligations. So I'm going to ask her if she can't cover it, if she's comfortable, and if not, I will cover it when I return. You're welcome. You are prepping for that elementary education. I love it. And your goal is to be more contentious and caring. I love that. That's a great goal. All right, this garden problem. Let's get started with this garden problem. We did not finish it last time. I'm going to preface this with this. The length of this problem, not in words, but the depth of this problem, like how many steps it is, you will likely not see. You will see multi-step problems that take a long time. This one is a multi-step problem. I did that on purpose because I wanted to show you how to process through multiple steps. And with that said, I wanted to show you how to plan through this. So let's go ahead and get started. Our gardener wants to create a unique garden for their business. That is useless information. And for those of you who get overwhelmed by the amount of words that you see, I would highly suggest recognizing when information is useless and not useless. She wants to have a square that has a side length. I'm going to stop and draw a square. Square that has a side length of 6 yards, filled completely with greenery. So I'm going to fill it with greenery. Inscribed inside a circle. Now, if you don't know what inscribed means, then this problem is going to be difficult for you. If it's inscribed inside of a circle, that means that this square is located inside of a circle where the corners are touching the edges of the circle. That has plants in the remaining spaces. All the plants will use the same kind of soil, which costs $6 per square foot. A quarter of the remaining space will have flowers planted at $10 per square yard. 3/4 of the space will have shrubs planted at $22 per square yard. The greenery will cost $8 per square yard. What will be the cost for the soil and all of the plants? So here's what I want you to think about, your plan. And this is how I would plan any multi-step problem. They want to know the cost of the soil and all the plants. So my final step is to find the cost in dollars. How am I going to do that? Well, I have to find the area of the circle. And multiply that by 6. Because that is going to give me how much soil I need. So soil, all the plants use the same kind of soil, which is $6 per square foot. However, I also noticed that my initial number is in yards, not feet. So I have to convert the yards into feet and then find the area and multiply it by 6. But then everything else is in yards. So I need to have one circle with yards and then one circle with feet. So I'm actually going to copy and paste this image so we can see what that would look like. So this is going to be my feet circle. And then this is going to be my yard circle. So after I find the soil area, then I have to find out the area of each of the spaces and multiply it by a different amount of money to find the cost of each plant. So let's find the cost of the soil first. That's going to be the easiest part. I have to find the area of the circle. How do I find area of a circle? Now, like I said, this is a multi-step problem where each piece is going to be for a different person. So area of a circle is really more middle school and high school, and not everybody has to know area of a circle. If you look at your blueprint or your study guide, it's going to show you. Area of a circle is pi r squared, where r is your radius. Well, unfortunately, 6 is not my radius, and I need to convert that 6 into feet first. How do I convert yards into feet? Conversions is something everybody needs to know how to do. Now, I will say, high school people, you might be given conversions you have never, ever seen in your life. As long as you know the process of conversions, you'll be good. GK people, you're given a reference sheet. So 1 yard equals 3 feet. 6 yards equals blank feet. Because I'm going in this direction, I'm going to multiply by 3 because 1 times 3 equals 3. I'm not going to divide by 3 because 1 divided by 3 does not equal 3. So 6 times 3 equals 18. So I'm going to say that this is 18 feet. But that is not my radius. What is the definition of radius? This is a whole lesson in and of itself. This could be a problem all by itself. Right here, this circle could be its own problem. So let's call this problem number 2 while we're at it. If that's 18 feet, then this is 18 feet, then this is 18 feet, then this is 18 feet because this is a square. However, that's not my radius because radius goes from the center to the outside, center to the outside, center to the outside. So I can use my understanding of the Pythagorean theorem to solve this. Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Everybody needs to know that. And this only works for right triangles, but because they defined this as a square, this is a right triangle. So right here to here to here is a right triangle. I'm trying to find the length of C because C is always across from my 90-degree angle. So I have 18 squared plus 18 squared equals C squared. Pull out my handy dandy calculator. $324 plus 324 equals C squared. That equals 648. Then I'm going to square root both sides. When I square root that, I get a wild number, 25.455844. I don't need to write that wild number yet. Here's why, you'll find out. That is not the radius. That is the length from end to end through the center. I need the radius. So I need to divide this by 2 because I need to cut this line into 2 pieces to create my radius. I'm going to leave it like that. There's no reason to stress over a really big square root, and you're going to see why in a minute. Now, I'm going to take that area formula I talked about earlier. Area equals pi, which is 3.14, times r squared. Well, we just defined this as r. So 3.14 times the square root of 648 divided by 2 squared. So I'm going to do the square root of 648 in my calculator, divide it by 2, and then I'm going to square it, which gives me 162. It all works out in the end. Times 3.14 equals 508.68. What does that number represent? That is the area of my circle in feet squared. Now I need to multiply that times 6 to get the cost of my soil. So 508.68 times 6 equals $3,052.08. That is my soil cost, which means A is not my answer because that's just my soil cost. That could have been a problem all by itself. That's why I love these problems for Wednesdays, because it shows you how to solve a multi-step problem. It challenges some of you, but we really get the most bang for our buck as a group of people here who are solving different problems. Let's keep moving. So we did this part. Now I'm done with this circle because I'm not going to need feet anymore. I'm going to need yards. So I'm going to have to figure out the area of my circle in yards now. 2 ways to do this. Again, huge problem. 2 ways to do this. I can go through the a squared plus b squared equals c squared all over again, but instead use 6 and 6 instead of 18 and 18. Or I can use my understanding of scale factors to figure out the area of my circle in feet from yards. So I can convert my yards or my feet squared into yards squared by using my understanding of scale factors. I'm going to explain that in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 6 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. 36 plus 36 equals c squared. 72 equals c squared. C equals the square root of 72, which means my radius equals the square root of 72 divided by 2, which means my area is pi r squared, which means my area equals 72, the square root of divided by 2 squared times 3.14. That equals 56.52. Now, if I were to use my understanding of scale factors to do that, instead of going through that whole a squared plus b squared equals c squared, high school people, this one's for you. If I were to use my understanding of scale factors to figure that out, you cannot just multiply this number right here times 3. You cannot, you cannot just divide this number by 3, even though you know that there's 3 feet in 1 yard. 508.68 divided by 3 is not 56.52. Why can you not just divide it by 3? Because feet and feet squared are 2 totally different things. Because we are not dealing with a linear measurement, we're dealing with a square measurement, you have to square the factor that you're using. So if there are 3 feet in a yard, then we have to square the 3 and divide by that number. If we divided 508.68 divided by 9, that does equal 56.52. However, if you're not confident with that, you saw, high school people, how quickly I did 6 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. This process took me less than 30 seconds because I'm confident in that. And I will tell you, to this day, it doesn't matter how many times I do scale factor, to this day, this is how I would solve it. Because I'm not confident in myself in scale factor, even though I know that I could divide by 9. So it's just a matter of preference. So I found my area of my circle. We know the area of the rectangle is 36. 6 times 6 is 36. So let's take each piece individually. All the plants will use the same kind of soil. Soil is done. A quarter of the remaining space. So let's call it the yellow section. A quarter means 1/4. Well, that's one piece out of 4. We'll have flowers planted at $10 per square yard. 3/4 of the remaining space, 1, 2, 3, we'll have shrubs planted at $22 per yard. And the greenery will be $8 per yard or per square yard. So I'm going to start with greenery just because that seems like the easiest thing to me. I know the area of my square is length times width. If you don't know that, you need to know that. So that's going to be 6 times 6 equals 36. Multiply that times 8, and that's going to give me $288. There's the cost of my greenery. Done. How am I going to find the area of my little yellow piece and my little purple pieces? I'm going to have to take the area of my circle, subtract the area of the square out of it, and that's going to give me all those pieces left over, and then divide by 4 to give me that teeny tiny yellow piece. So I'm going to do 56.52 minus 36, and that's going to give me my 4 little pieces. So 56.52 minus 36 equals 20.52. But that is the area of all 4 tiny pieces put together. Now I need to divide that by 4 to give me the yellow piece. So 56.52 minus 36 equals 20.52 divided by 4 equals 5.13. That's the area of my little yellow piece. Multiply my little yellow piece times 10, and I get $15.13. All making sense? So far I have soil plus greenery plus flowers plus soil, greenery, flowers, shrubs. I'm going to take this number and multiply it times 3. Why 3? Because there's 3 purple sections. So that equals 15.39. Multiply that by 22. And that gives me $338.58. So what am I going to do now? I have my soil. That's done. I have the area of my square times $8. $8, yeah. Greenery will cost $8 per square yard. That's done. I have my flowers at $10 per square yard. That's done. I have my 3/4 of the space at $22 per square yard. That's done. So what's the cost for the soil and all the plants? When I add them all together, I get $3,693.79. Now, in this case, I'm going to be real honest. I evidently made a mistake in my solving because I have solved this problem before and gotten the right answer. So I'm going to choose the letter B and move on and not spend any more time on this problem. I'm going to cross-check this problem. I'm going to resolve it. I'm going to take a snapshot of this and just show you because I obviously made an error. I'm going to screenshot and show you exactly where the area is or the error is next week. And we're going to spend 1 minute on it because I want to show you that I made an error. I definitely made an error in here somewhere because I've solved this problem and gotten the right answer. But I don't want to spend any more time on the problem than we need to. So that's how you would solve. And I guarantee you it's in some tiny little, like I multiplied instead of divided. That's how you would solve a problem like this. Plan and execute. However, there were so many different pieces in this problem that you can take with you. How to use Pythagorean theorem to solve the area of a circle. How to not freak out over the square root of 648. I mean, there's a lot going on here. So take that and run with it, and let's move on to problem 2. Which of the following is not correct? So we are given an A, a B, a C, and a D, which all have equality. And we have to figure out which of these is not correct. So there's a couple of different ways we can do this. We can look at each side of the equation and figure out what I can multiply the other side by to equal the other side. I'm going to solve each of these separate letters slightly differently so that I can show you how to solve them all different ways. So how do I check if letter A is correct? Lots of different ways. Letter A, I am going to look at the left side of the problem to determine what I need to multiply the right side of the problem by. So the left side of the problem has a 3x in the denominator. The right side of the problem has just an x. So what could I multiply the right side of the problem by to make it equal to 3x? I can multiply it times 3. But I cannot just randomly and arbitrarily multiply times 3. What I have to do is multiply by a value of 1. Well, 3 divided by 3 equals 1. So if I multiply that side of the equation by 1, am I really changing the value of anything? No. So if I multiply that by 3 over 3 and I distribute, I get 3x plus 3 divided by 3x. Do those equal? Yeah. So that one is correct, which means it's not the correct answer because we're looking for the not correct one. Letter B, what am I going to do? In this case, I could do the same thing. I could look to see what I can multiply each side by to make it equal, but that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to cross multiply. So if I cross multiply, which you could cross multiply for all of these, I'm showing you 4 different strategies. I'm going to cross multiply here. So 1 times x squared minus 4 equals x plus 2 times x minus 2. 1 times anything is 1, so really that can just be dropped. And I have x squared minus 4 equals, now how do I multiply 2 binomials together? I'm going to use the FOIL method, which is first, outer, inner, last. So I'm going to distribute this. First, outer, inner, last. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is minus 2x. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 2 is minus 4. Negative 2x plus 2x is 0. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. And I cannot add or subtract those to the x squared because they are not like terms. So I have x squared minus 4 equals that crosses out x squared minus 4. So that is equal, which means that's not the correct answer because it's not correct. Letter C. This one's interesting. 5x plus 5 divided by 5x equals 5. Whoa. First thing I notice is that all of these terms have a 5 included. So what can I do with that information? I can factor out a value of 5. So on the top, I can factor out a value of 5, and I'm left with 5 times x plus 1 divided by 5x equals 5. By factoring out that value of 5, I have 5x plus 1 divided by 5x equals 5. Now I can cancel out the 5s because 5 divided by 5 is 1. And I'm left with x plus 1 divided by x equals 5. Is that equal? No. Which of the following is not correct? That is not correct. Let's go ahead and look at letter D for kicks and giggles. So 4x squared minus 25 divided by 2x plus 5 equals 2x minus 5. That looks real complicated, doesn't it? Let's break it down. I see immediately, and my high school people, you should be able to see this immediately too, that is the difference of perfect squares. What is the difference of perfect squares? Ax squared minus b I don't want to write it like that. X squared minus 4. These are both perfect squares, which means I can go ahead and factor it automatically to x plus 2 and x minus 2. So I'm going to factor the top to 2x plus 5 and 2x minus 5. How did I get that? Because the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of x is x, and the square root of 25 is 5. And the format for difference of perfect squares is x, or a plus b and a plus b, or a minus b. Well, now I have an entire factor divided by an entire factor that's the same. So that equals 1, which means I'm left with 2x minus 5 equals 2x minus 5. Now you notice that the only reason I'm able to do that is because this piece is being multiplied by this piece. I can't go in here and cross off these 5s because the top is being added together. They are not factors of each other. You can only cancel things out when they are being divided by each other. But because this entire factor is being divided by this entire factor, I can cancel it out, which means D is correct, which means it's not the correct answer because we're looking for which of the following is not correct. Does that make sense? All right. Any questions about that? Because I solved each one of those in 4 different ways, and I want to make sure that you understand the problem. Any questions? Okay, no questions so far. If they come in late, I will answer them. Let's move on to problem 3. What is the volume of the figure that would be created from the net shown to the right. What is the volume of the figure that would be created from the net shown to the right? All right, we know we're looking for volume. Volume of a prism, we know this is a prism. I'll explain why in a minute, but volume of a prism equals area of your base times the height. Area of base times the height of the prism. We have talked about this multiple times, so if you're sick of me hearing it because you're one of my regulars, I apologize. But this is something people get confused with often. So if I have a rectangular prism, then we could do length times width times height. However, in this case, this is not a rectangular prism. How do I know this is a prism? Let's start there. So my elementary people, even though you may not need to find the volume of this prism, you would definitely need to be able to identify a prism. You would need to be able to look at this shape and know that it's a prism. How do I know? Because I have two identical bases with rectangles surrounding the bases. So when I draw this in prism form, it's going to look something like that. How do I know that these are the bases and not this? Because by definition, the base of a prism are the two identical shapes that are parallel to each other that are connected by rectangles. Excellent, Val. The two bases are the triangles. Here's the trick question. What's the height of this prism? A lot of people, because prisms are often drawn like this, people assume that the height of the prism is this measurement right here, how tall the prism is. However, that is not the height of the prism. The height of the prism is the distance between the two bases. The height of the prism is the distance between your two bases. So in this case, 12 is going to be the height. So how do I solve this? Well, I have to find the area of my base times 12. What is the area of a triangle? One half times base times height. You should have that committed to memory. So if my triangle looks like this, where this value is 8, and I know these are the same, if we know that this is a rectangle, this is 12, this is 5, this is 5, what does that mean that this side is right here? That side is 5 also. Why? Because when I fold this up, these sides right here are the same. They end up meeting up and becoming the same side. So I know that this is 5 and this is 5. So the area of the triangle is going to be 1/2 base times height, but I don't have my height. My height is not the slanted value. Think about when your kid goes to the doctor. They make them stand up against the wall real tall. How do they measure how tall they are? They make them put their heels right up against that wall. The height of this triangle is not the slant. It's how tall the triangle is. This is the height of my triangle. So I have to solve for that. Now, because these are the same and I drop the height, it's going to cut this in half. So this is 4 and this is 4. I just didn't draw my triangle to scale, and that's okay. How do I find the missing side in a right triangle? You should know the answer to this by now. How do I find that? I do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I'm going to do, I'm going to run out of space is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 4 squared plus b squared equals 5 squared. Now you're saying, Amy, why is it 4 squared plus b squared? Why isn't it 4 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared? Because remember, we talked about how the side across from the 90-degree angle is always c. So 5 is c. Does it matter if the 4 is a or the 4 is b? Like, what if you wrote on your paper a squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared? Is that okay? Absolutely. It's absolutely okay. Why? Because addition is commutative, so I can do it in any order. So I'm going to do 4 squared is 16 plus b squared equals 25. Subtract 16 from both sides. Everybody should know how to solve an equation. 25 minus 16 is 9. Square root both sides. Everybody should know how to do a square root. B equals 3. So the height of my triangle is 3. 1/2 times 8 times 3 is 24 equals 12. So the area of my base is 12. Now I can just plug that into my volume formula. 12 times 12 is 144. Now you'll notice that I labeled this problem 3A. Why is that? Because I came up with a very similar problem, 3B, which has the same numbers, but it just shows you that there's a lot of different questions we can ask with this same image. So let's look at problem 3B. What is the surface area of the figure that would be created from the net shown to the right? Surface area is all they're asking for is for you to find the area of each flat shape. If they ask you to find the surface area, don't get intimidated by this word net and the fact that this is a really wonky shape. It does not matter if it's a 3D shape. Surface area is just how much paint I'm going to put on that object, how much wrapping paper it's going to take for me to wrap it. If I were to find the volume, I actually have a box right here. If I were to find the volume of this box, I want to know how much I can put inside this box. How much can I put inside of the box? However, if I want to know the surface area of the box, I want to know the area of each of the sides and add them together so that I know how much wrapping paper I need without all of the extra folds, or how much paint I need, or how much contact paper I need to cover the shape. So all you're doing is area of a rectangle, area of a rectangle, area of a rectangle, area of a triangle, area of a triangle. That's all you're doing. So I'm going to find the area of this rectangle. What's the formula for area of a rectangle? Length times width. So I'm going to do 12 times 5. I'm going to do 12 times 8. So this equals 60. This equals 96. 12. How do I know all of those are 12? Because if one side of a rectangle is 12, then the other is 12. If one side of a rectangle is 12, then the other side is 12. But here's the tricky one. What is the value of this side right here? What is the value of that side right there? That's the trick question of the day. Remember in the last problem that we talked about if this side is 5, this side is 5. And when we fold this problem up, this is 5 right here because these two sides match. And if this side is 5 right here, then this side is 5 also, only because we have the congruency marks ticked right here, which tells me that those two sides are the same, which means that this is 5 also. So I have 12 times 5 here, which is 60. So 60 plus 96 plus 60 plus the triangle plus the triangle. Now, I'm not going to find the area of that triangle all over again. We already did that. We figured out that the area of the triangle is 12. So all I'm going to do is copy and paste this information over to this problem. So the area of my triangle is 12 and 12. And then I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator. Excellent, with noticing that that's 5. So I'm using my handy dandy calculator. 60 plus 96 plus 60 plus 12 plus 12 equals 240. So that's our answer. So like I said, with the same image, there's a lot of different questions that they can ask you. All right, let's do problem number 4. Now this image is a bit blurry and I apologize by that. What is the value of X? All right, this is a fun one. So how many sides does this shape have? 4. So this is a quadrilateral. And I notice that X is down here. So this is going to be a multi-step problem. If I can figure out the value of this missing angle in my shape, then I can subtract, let's call that N. Then I can take 180 degrees, subtract N, and get my value of X that I'm looking for. How do I know that? Because a straight line equals 180 degrees. And if a straight line equals 180 degrees and I find my N value, then I can subtract it from 180 degrees and get X. Now, how am I going to find N? Interesting question. I don't notice that there's any sort of like parallel line relationship going on or anything like that. But what I do know is the amount of degrees in a quadrilateral. How do I know? Well, you could have the sum of all of the angles in a shape formula memorized, or I just know how many degrees are in a quadrilateral because all quadrilaterals are the same. And so it doesn't matter if it's a square, if it's a rectangle, if it's a trapezoid, or if it's any other wonky quadrilateral. All quadrilaterals have the same number of degrees, just like all triangles have the same number of degrees. How many degrees are in a triangle? 180. How many degrees are in a quadrilateral? You may not have that one memorized, but what do you know about the angles in a rectangle? they're all 90 degrees. So if you just do 90 times 4, that will give you the degrees not only in a rectangle, but in any quadrilateral. So in any quadrilateral, all of the angles are going to add up to 360. So that said, I can just add 130 plus 55 plus 70 plus n and equal 360. So we've got 130 plus 55 plus 70 equals 255. And now I can do 360 minus 255. And that equals 105. And that's the value of n. And remember, we came up with a plan at the beginning of this problem. So I'm going to do 180 minus n, and that's going to give me x. So 180 minus 105 equals 75, which is C. Great job. All right, we have time for one more problem. So let's go ahead and let's do this one. What is the perimeter of the shape below? This is a perfect problem for everyone, because all the way down to 3rd grade, you need to understand how to solve composite shapes. So my elementary people need to know how to do this too. So here's a shape with all of its measurements in centimeters. So they asked for a perimeter, which means I'm looking for the distance around the shape. And right now, I already have this side, this side, this side, and this side. But what I don't have is this side and this side. So I am going to, and I know that my iPad just disconnected, so I'm reconnecting it right now. What I am going to do is I'm going to add the 4 that I have together for sure. So I'm going to add my x plus 1, my 4, my x plus 11, and my 2x plus 6. X plus 1 plus 4 plus x plus 11 plus 2x plus 6. And I'm going to at least get a simplified answer for that. I'm going to come back to my pink tick marks, and I'm actually going to do this in purple to keep my consistency. So x plus 1 plus 4 plus x plus 11 plus 2x plus 6. Now what I am going to do is look at my answer choices to see what I'm working with. In my answer choices, I notice that there are x values. So I immediately recognize that it's okay that I'm not going to have a straight answer. So I'm going to add my x's together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4x, plus 1 plus 4 is 5, 5 plus 6 is 11, 11 plus 11 is 22. That is the distance from here to there. It does not include those pink tick marks. So A is automatically out. Now, how am I going to decipher how long those pink sections are? Well, what I know is that this distance is x plus 11. And that this distance is 4. So to find this shorter distance, I can do x plus 11, but take away the 4. Think about if this whole thing was 12. How would you find the missing piece? You would do 12 minus 4 is 8, because 8 plus 4 is 12. So if you didn't get that with variables, try it with real numbers, use that process, and then apply that process to variables. So I'm going to do x plus 11 minus 4. And that's going to give me that smaller piece. Well, x plus 11 minus 4, what's 11 minus 4? X plus 7. So what I know is that this piece is x plus 7. So now I can take the 4x plus 22 and add that to x plus 7. Now what? I'm going to use that same process for this missing side. I'm going to take the whole length right here, which is 2x plus 6, and I'm going to subtract x plus 1. But I'm not going to write it like that because I'm subtracting x plus 1 as a whole, which means that negative sign has to distribute. And that's going to be the number one mistake people make. 2x plus 6 minus x minus 1. 2x minus x is x. 6 minus 1 is 5. So now I'm going to add that piece to my expression. And I get 4, 5, 6x plus 34. 22 plus 7 plus 5 is 34. And that's our answer. And with that, I am going to say adios. And I'm going to turn it over back to Dr. A. And I will see you guys soon. If there is anything that you want to see me or Priya go over in the coming weeks, please let me know in the comments. I am still working absolutely on Converging and Diverging series. And we are going to have a snip of that garden problem just so I can show you where I went wrong because I need to figure that out. And then we will go from there. But that's only going to take like 1 minute of our time. So let me know in the comments what you want to see. If there's nothing you want to see in general and you just like what we're doing already, that's fine. And I will see you very soon. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. A. Have a great week, y'all.
All right, so wasn't that an amazing session? Now, I know, depending on what exam you have to take, you're like, man, that was great, but she didn't address everything I needed. She focused on all different questions, and I just need elementary, or I just need middle school, I just need high school. Don't worry. Since you're still with us, I've got a special surprise for you. If you use the coupon code, all capital letters, SINK35, that's SINK 35. That will take off 35% off any of our prep courses on our website at the Learning Liaisons. It doesn't have to just be math. It could be anything that you need that we offer. And this is going to be an ongoing deal for you guys who attend these live sessions because these are great. I'm sure Amy opened your eyes to some new concepts, some new ways to tackle problems, building that confidence. But this is just a smidget of your exam, the concepts on your test. So if you want the comprehensive view with the practice with Amy, with the practice test, with the lessons and the content review, we've got your back on our video boot camps, which all of them feature Amy Sink, your math specialist. So if you want to take advantage of that, the code is SINK35. You can use that at checkout on the learningliaisons.com website. And all that information is on our website as well. And on the bottom of the screen in this video. So we are here to help you. Once again, always remember, it's when you pass, not if you pass. Thank you for joining us again today. And hopefully we'll see you next week too. Talk to you soon.